Most people who disappeared in the Appalachian wilderness vanished without a sound, a scream, or a trace. But sometimes, on rare, unlucky nights, there were echoes, whispers between trees, branches rustling when no wind existed, soft footfalls pacing just outside the ring of firelight. Locals warned about the silent ones, old spirits or something worse, who watched hikers and hunters and waited for the right moment to lead them off the path and into places where light and hope didn't reach. Most assumed it was superstition. Most also never came back from the deep woods to argue otherwise. Ava Whitlock believed none of it. She believed in maps, gear, logic, and the illusion of control. 29 years old, an outdoor vlogger with 60,000 subscribers and a stubborn streak, she'd recorded trails in 13 states without incident. So when she decided to document an off-map path in the Appalachians for a Halloween wilderness special, she assumed it would be like every other job. Film the forest, set up camp, get spooked by raccoons, go home, edit, upload, repeat. She brought two friends, Jade, a soft-spoken nature photographer, and Mason, who could fix anything and never stop joking. They weren't thrill seekers, just people who loved trees, rivers, and silence, the safe kind. They arrived in the tiny town of Cold River, West Virginia right before dusk, the sky stained orange and purple above the jagged ridges. Locals stared at them. Old men on the steps of the general store, a woman sweeping the porch of a feed shop, a boy in mud-caked boots who froze mid-step just to watch them walk past. There was no friendliness in their eyes. Only warning. A deep-set recognition of outsiders walking somewhere they shouldn't. Inside the one-room store, Ava asked the gray-bearded clerk, "Do you sell topo maps?" The man didn't look up from his newspaper. "Not for those woods. We brought one, but it's from the 70s. Could be outdated." The man finally met her gaze. His eyes were pale and tired, like someone who hadn't slept right in decades. "Map won't help where y'all goin'." Mason snorted. "We're hiking, not storming a castle." The clerk didn't laugh. "Forests don't like new folks in that hollow." Ava offered a rehearsed influencer smile. "We'll stick to game trails. No trouble." He leaned forward like he wanted to whisper, but spoke loud enough for the whole store, and the boys staring through the window to hear. "Don't follow voices out there. Don't follow lights. Don't follow nothing that looks like a trail, but wasn't there a moment before." Jade swallowed. "Is this a superstition thing?" "A warning," he said. "And don't camp near running water past midnight. They walk the creeks then." "Who?" Ava asked, forcing a laugh. His voice dropped to a hush. "The ones who never left. They left with a pack of lighters and a silence even Mason couldn't break. Not until they hit the gravel road leading to their trailhead. People really lean into stereotypes here," he joked weakly. Like dude was auditioning for Scary Mountain Hermit of the Year. Ava forced a smile, but unease clung to her ribs. She brushed it off. Locals always warned hikers. Gatekeeping nature made them feel protective or powerful. At twilight, they reached the woods. The tree canopy looked darker than the sky above it, swallowing color and sound. A cold breeze brushed Ava's cheek despite the still air. A presence. A hint. She ignored it. They hiked in 2 hours before setting camp near a moss-coated ridge. Everything felt ancient. The boulders, the gnarled oak roots gripping soil like knuckles, the hush of insects retreating at night. Their small fire flickered against the dark like a fragile heartbeat. "Cheers to haunted forests and viral videos," Mason said, raising his metal mug. They clinked cups. The woods stayed quiet too long. No crickets. No owls. Just pressure, like invisible eyes weighing judgment. Around midnight, Jade whispered, "Do you hear that?" Ava held her breath. There, faint footsteps circling the camp. Light, deliberate, too slow to be animal, too soft to be human. A hushed foot sliding through pine needles. Mason shined his flashlight toward the sound. "Nothing. Probably deer," he said, voice tight. Then came laughter, soft, echo-thin, somewhere deep in the trees. Jade tensed. "Kids." "No kids out here," Ava murmured. They huddled close to the fire until exhaustion won. Day 2. Morning sunlight burned away most of the fear. The woods looked harmless again, almost serene, like danger was just imagination in the dark. They hiked deeper. The trail grew steeper, swallowed by roots and fallen branches. A stale scent crept through the air, like rotting leaves and river mud. Around noon, they found an old campsite, a ring of blackened stones, half-collapsed tent stakes, and something carved into a stump. Not a path. Not a door. Not yours. Go back. Mason read it aloud, chuckled nervously.
Cool.
Forest poetry. Jade's voice shook. Why would someone carve that? To freak people out? Ava forced bravado. Well, it's working. Hours later, Jade stopped, pointing. Guys, look. A second trail, narrow, woven between ferns, hadn't been there moments earlier. Ava swore it appeared like a shadow forming. Mason inhaled sharply. I don't like that. Jade's face paled. Let's stay on our route. But the off-trail path pulsed with strange allure. Curiosity tugged at Ava like hooks in her spine. Something wanted them there. She tightened her pack. We should document it. 5 minutes. Then back. Mason cursed under his breath. Jade whispered that silent plea only anxious people know. Please don't make me go there. But Ava led. The trail narrowed to single file. The canopy thickened until noon looked like dusk. No birds. No wind. Just the crunch of boots and the growing certainty they weren't alone. Then the woods opened into a clearing. And they saw it. A stone archway rising from tangled roots, swallowed by moss and half-buried in earth. It looked impossibly old. Older than Appalachian settlers, older than the forest itself. A doorway to nowhere. Jade whispered, this wasn't built by hikers. A low hum vibrated through the ground, faint as a heartbeat beneath soil. The arch shimmered like heat-warped air. Mason backed away. Nope.
Done.
We're leaving. Ava stepped closer, filming. This is insane. We just found. A whisper slithered through the trees.
Ava.
She jerked back. Did you hear that? Jade shook, pale, wide-eyed. It said your name. Mason grabbed her arm. Time to go.
They ran.
Branches scraped their arms. Roots snagged their boots. Whispers followed like wind that didn't move leaves. When they reached their camp, the fire ring was scattered. Gear moved. Footprints around their tents, bare feet. Small. Dozens of them. Kids. Mason breathed. There were kids here. A faint giggle echoed again. Not playful, predatory. Jade started crying silently. Ava forced calm she didn't feel. We're leaving at dawn. They slept with the fire blazing and knives in hand. Night 2. Ava woke to whispering right outside the tent. Not language. Just breath. Hungry breath. She held still. The canvas shook like small hands brushed it. Something exhaled near her ear from the other side of thin fabric. A child's voice croaked, cracked and ancient.
Come see.
Another chimed, broken like wind through bones. Follow. Jade whimpered in her sleep. Mason's breath was shallow, fast. The whisper slid deeper into Ava's mind. We miss being warm. We miss being seen. Stay with us. Bring more. Ava clamped her eyes shut. Hours later, dawn bled gray. They packed in silence and started back. But the trail had changed. Trees warped into unfamiliar shapes. The river they followed yesterday was gone. Compass needles spun. The map meant nothing. They were trapped.
Day 3.
Jade stopped walking. Something is following us. Steps echoed behind them. Sometimes to the right. Sometimes alongside them. As if something walked just at the edge of sight, waiting for them to look. Mason snapped. Hey, we know you're there. The woods held its breath. Then a figure stepped between trees. A girl. Bare feet. Tangled hair. Wearing clothing decades old. Dirty dress. Torn hem. She didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Then she smiled. Too slow. Too wide. Ava whispered, Hello. The girl lifted her hand and beckoned. Jade choked. No. God, no. The girl's mouth stretched wider, skin splitting at the corners like clay cracking. A second face flickered beneath her, then vanished. She turned, glided into the trees. Ava whispered, trembling. They want us to follow. Mason spat. Yeah? We're not stupid. Branches snapped. Something crawled along bark above them. More figures appeared between trees, pale faces, eyes like pits, limbs twitching too fluidly. Not ghosts. Not human. Something older. Ava whispered a prayer, even though she didn't believe.
They ran.
Night 3. Exhausted, starving, terrified, they made camp by a boulder, too tired to think. They didn't talk. They just listened to distant crying, footsteps circling, the low chitter of voices that were once human but not anymore. Jade whispered, "Do you think they used to be like us? Just hikers? Lost people?" Ava nodded, tears sliding silently. "Yes." Mason stared blankly into the dark. "We're not making it out." No one argued. Hours later, Jade shook Ava awake, sobbing and pointing. Mason was gone. No struggle, no sound, no footprints. Just his headlamp lying on the moss, still warm. Ava screamed his name into the black. Laughter answered. Jade crumpled. "They took him. They took him, and they'll take us." Ava gripped her friend's face. "We're not giving up. We will get out." Jade stared hollow-eyed. "No one gets out." A whisper glided through the trees like silk on bone. "One left. One stays. One follows." Leaves shuddered as if 1,000 unseen hands brushed them. Ava held Jade through the night as she shook and whispered prayers to gods she never believed in. Final day. By morning, Jade was silent, numb. They walked until the forest shifted again. Air thickened. Electric, suffocating. Then the stone archway appeared ahead, as if it waited for them. Something moved beneath the arch, shapes writhing like shadows trying to remember how to be human. Jade's voice cracked. "It wants us to go through." Ava shook. "We're finding another way." Jade stepped forward.
Jade.
Ava grabbed her. "No." Jade turned, smiled gentle and hopeless. "It's easier if we don't fight." Before Ava could stop her, Jade walked through the arch. Her body froze mid-step, then dissolved like smoke. A soft giggle echoed. Then dozens. Ava collapsed, screaming. The walk back. She staggered through the woods alone, delirious, calling Jade's and Mason's names. The forest shifted again, or she lost her way entirely. She crawled, bled, screamed until her voice shredded. At dusk, she saw a shape, the gravel road, her car visible through trees. Civilization. She staggered forward, sobbing, until small hands grabbed her ankle from the leaves. Tiny fingers cold and strong.
Stay.
She kicked free, sprinting until she burst from the tree line. She collapsed on the road, sobbing, shaking alive. The forest watched silently. She drove until her hands stopped trembling, hours, maybe days later, and turned in footage. The video file corrupted. Every frame inside the woods turned black. Only one audio line remained, whispered over static. "One got away. She'll bring more." Ava doesn't hike anymore. She doesn't sleep much either. Some nights, she hears soft laughter outside her apartment window, bare footsteps on concrete, and a child's voice whisper through the glass. It's easier if you don't fight. She still dreams of the archway. She still hears Jade calling her. And sometimes, when she looks into dark places, she knows something is still following, and it wants her back.